Hello VC, another fat bearded man talking about records here, but you can call me Hedley. It's good to be back. It's only a week since my last video, after a hiatus for a while, so I'm back on track and cooking on gas, with more endless chit chat and idle nonsense about records. I'm just going to get into it. This is a collection of various things I've picked up probably now over the last sort of month. I know some of them date back a bit of a while, but I've had a bit of a backlog. Anywho, I'm just going to start, shall I? I think that's probably the best bet, and we'll sort of pick up anything that needs to be explained as we go along. Okay, so first things first. This is Danny Hollin. It's self-titled. This is from 1971. On Tumbleweed Records. Now, it's kind of an interesting die-cut cover with a... There you go. I think they'd have just gone with that cover. It's really nice. That kind of... Ugh. And it's one of these ones that has the records in there, which is a bit annoying. Anyway, this is kind of folk rock. In the vein of some of the kind of Laurel Canyon musicians. The Tumbleweed Records, Tumbleweed Records were based in Denver, Colorado. And actually the first track on this is called Colorado. And apparently they kind of relocated after some... LA earthquake, but that might be a load of nonsense. Anyway, it's produced by a guy called Bill Simsick, who was one of the creators or founders of the label Tumbleweed Records. They produced probably about a handful of records. They were they got backing from ABC Dunhill, is that right? And got given a load of money, and they produced a handful of albums and then kind of imploded, lack of money. And this was one of the first ones I think they produced. And yeah, like I said, it's kind of folk rock. It's got an interesting sort of book inside, which has the music. So if you like the album, you can go home. Or hopefully you are home because you're listening to the record, and here's some nice pictures. And then you can replicate it yourself, playing on the guitar. So that's kind of groovy. The opening, I really like it. The opening track, Colorado, is a stunner, and I'll put the link down below because you should listen to it. It's great. Okay, have I said everything I need to say about that? I think I have. So yeah, folk rock, Laurel Canyon kind of stuff, but from Colorado. Okay, this is Buckacre. Buckacre were from. This is self-titled from 1978. It's kind of country rock with more of an emphasis on the rock. They were from the Illinois Valley, wherever that is. Well, Illinois, I assume. And yeah, I bought this. I'm sort of I just like the look of the cover. I like the kind of star field where the people are. It looked kind of trippy. I thought it might be a bit more psychedelic, but there's the band. Groovy look, and that's kind of the shape that they're. Yeah. Now, hang on. Before I go any further, I need to point something out. Now, okay, this guy here, he's like some little beardy, long-haired Paul Simon, and that's James May from Top Gear. But I don't know if you can see this. For me, that is the spitting image of James Griffith, vinyl professor of this parish. I don't know if anyone agrees with me. He probably won't. He'll be very, very insulted. I do apologise about that, James. And that's Niall Quinn, the ex-footballer, I think. Yeah. Anyway, they produced 2 albums and then kind of disappeared. The first one they recorded in London with Glyn Johns. It was on MCA. Yeah, nice enough. Not enough country for me. But yeah, all right. Okay, Tom Ball and Kenny Sultan. This is Bloodshot Eyes. This is part of the kind of acoustic blues revival. This is from 1986 on a Flying Fish label. My favourite, well, one of my favourites. No, my favourite is coming up. And this is, yeah, acoustic blues in the kind of vein of Sonny Terry, Brownie McGee. If you like them, you'd like this. It's kind of stripped back. It's mostly just acoustic guitar and harmonica. So you've got Tom Ball who sings and plays harmonica, and Kenny Sultan on guitar. There are some tracks that do have a bit more than that. For example, there's one called Long Distance Call, which has bass. Oh, where was the one I was looking for? Oh, Bloodshot Eyes, the title track, Bloodshot Eyes, has a bit of fiddle on it by Byron Berline. And I showed the Country Gazette album in my last video, and he was on that. So there's an interesting connection there. Yeah, so nice acoustic blues. Really good. Kind of country pop here from Jeannie C. Riley. When Love Has Gone Away. She was probably most famous for Harper Valley PTA, which was a song written by Tom T. Hall. This is from, oh, I haven't checked. I think it's something like 73. I think it's 73. No, 72. And yeah, it's country pop, as I said. It's on the Moonshine label on MGM. I quite like the Moonshine label. And yeah, it's a little bit like some of Bobby Gentry's stuff, where she gets a bit kind of easy listening. There are some good, there's a couple of funky ones on here. Thou Shalt Not Kill has got some sort of funky bass lines going on. But the opening track, When Love Has Gone Away, has a bit of a Carpenter's feel to it. Yeah, it's a solid album. She's a good singer. Jeannie C. Riley. Bit more solid country here. Merle Haggard. This is Pride in What I Am, with the hit I Take a Lot of Pride in What I Am. This is from '69. This is, it says it's a repress, a reissue on Capitol, but I don't know quite when that was. Capitol label. Good album. I've got a couple of dodgy 80s Merle Haggards, and it's really nice to have a sort of one from his sort of, I suppose, some of the best sort of period, really, the 60s into the early 70s. And it's a bit of a mixture, actually, because there's a bit of folk on here, and some perhaps some sounds that are a bit more in keeping with him. Really strong. So Merle Haggard and the Strangers, I didn't say that earlier, and it's a great album. And there's some pictures on him on the back with his horse. What's his horse called? Hagbar. So Merle Haggard and his horse Hagbar, his pride and joy, and there's him doing some fishing. Yeah, good album. Now we're talking about favourite record labels. Here we go. We've got the Stetson label, and this is Bill Monroe and his Bluegrass Boys, Knee Deep in the Blues. So if people remember, Stetson is a British label re-releasing, repressing classic American country albums. So this is produced in the mid-80s, some probably pressed in Germany on the Stetson label, and it was originally from 1958. So Bill Monroe, can't go wrong with Bill Monroe. And actually, once again, there's I don't have many of these on any of his other albums I've got, which is really nice. So yeah, I said something about bluegrass in my last video about it being modern. Well, when I said modern, I did mean sort of 1940s, because of course Bill Monroe, arguably, here's an interesting fact. It's probably wrong, but arguably, bluegrass is the only musical genre that can trace its birth to one person, Bill Monroe. Of course, you can argue that, and many people will. I've been reading actually about bluegrass in this book, Reading Country Music, Steel Guitars, Opry Stars, and Honky Tonk Bars. Really good book. It's an edited book by Cecilia Ticci, and whereas a lot of books about music are very journalistic, and that's great, that's wonderful, this is more of an academic look at country music, so it contains essays on various sides of country. So you've got event songs, country green, the money in country music, mountains of contradictions, gender, class and region in the star image of Dolly Parton. I haven't read that one yet, I'm looking forward to that. But I've been reading one that's called Commercial and/or folk, Bluegrass, Industry and Bluegrass Traditions. And basically it kind of points out that bluegrass was a incredibly commercial music. In the same way as rock and roll, it really kind of, it sped up the music, it made it more exciting, virtuoso, soloing, like you get in rock music these days, and it talks about there being a kind of I don't know why I'm doing this, I don't think I'm going to read anything out, a duality to bluegrass, where the tradition or the false tradition of it is often counter to the commercial aspect. So originally it was commercial. Now, of course, it is seen as a niche genre. But actually, it's interesting because this was written or published in 1998, which, of course, is 2 years before "Oh Brother, Where Art Thou" came out. And I'd love to have read the guy's thoughts about the state of bluegrass as a result of "Oh Brother, Where Art Thou." So yeah, if you're really interested in country music and you're really interested in getting down to the academic kind of minutiae of it, it's a good book. For those of you who perhaps like your more journalistic storytelling kind of type of book, maybe not so good. But I'm pretentious, so I love it. Okay, so this is Sid Silva. This is called The Cold of the Morning. This is from 1976. This is a repress, bit of a flashy cover there. And I was turned on to this by, let me get it right, Memphis Vinyl Jim and the Misses, who apparently have been around on the VC for years, but they've only just come back after a bit of a break. And I love watching their videos. Check them out. So that's Memphis Vinyl Jim and the Misses. Check them out. They show records that I want them all. And in fact, it's a mixed feeling when I watch his videos, because I love them, but then I also recognise I shall never have all of those wonderful records. I want them all. But anyway, he showed this, and his was the original, of course. This is, I'll tell you a little bit about him. It's folk blues, bits of country in there. It's produced by James Luther Dickinson, who is noted for his sort of country funky kind of stuff. But this is very, 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 very nice album. I picked it up on Amazon for £8, and because I got Prime, I got it shipped to me for free. I think it's still up there for about 11 quid, so if you're interested. It's a re-release on the Peabody label, which is there, which is rather nice. Not sure I like the blue, but blue record. But it kind of reminds me. There's an old label that looks like that, and I can't remember what it is. It's one of the old ones I've got some kind of western swing on. It's not OK, is it? No. Anyway, sorry. Yeah, a very fine album. He's a kind of a lot of it solo guitar. It's really quite stripped back. Sorry, there you are. It's kind of stripped back. Often just him. Some of them are a bit more because he's in a band called Mudboy and the Neutrons, which I need to try and check out. And there's a couple of tracks that are attributed to them, which means that has a few more people involved, including Jim Dickinson. I showed this, or I showed a picture of this on the YouTube, the Facebook page, and I said, if anyone wants the download card, get in touch. So, first person, if you fancy listening to this album, and it comes with more tracks than are actually on the record. So get in touch with me, say you want it, and it's yours. Okay, what am I doing? I've lost all my record. Oh, there we go. Okay, this is an interesting buy. Blind buy, had no idea who it was. OFB, which apparently stands for Our Favourite Band. That's a horrible name. That is a horrible name. And they are Maury O'Rourke and Donald W. Spicer. And this is from '87. And what drew me to this was the hype sticker. I've kept the hype sticker. Which says, with special guests, Jason Ringenberg, Warner Hodges and Jeff Johnson of Jason and the Scorchers. Steve Forbert. Tim Creakle of the Sluggers. Never heard of him. And Michael Stipe of REM, who adds some backing vocals. It is sort of 1980s alternative country. It comes off the back, actually. Brian, Shamrock'n Records. Hello, Brian. Check out Shamrock'n Records. Great channel. He shows some really, 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 really nice records. And he seems to be a lovely, jolly chap. Okay, he showed Lone Justice's first album on Facebook recently, and it got me sort of talking to him about 1980s alternative country, of which this is very much in that group. And it's got they're a bit brave to have a song that they've written called Exile on Main Street. Whew. It's got a cover of Leaving Louisiana, the Rodney Crowell, well, he's co-written by Rodney Crowell, can't remember the other guy, which is great, and Funnel of Love, which was done by Wanda Jackson back in the rock and roll era, which is a lovely, incredible tune. I love it. I was introduced it to a version on a Bloodshot Records compilation of Wanda Jackson songs done by the Asylum Street Spankers, who are a top band. Mid-80s alternative country. I'm trying to find more of that type of stuff because it's an interesting area that I haven't really got much of. Orion Country. This is Orion. Now, I had to pick this up. I saw it on eBay, and I was familiar with the story of Orion. Real name, Jimmy Ellis. And he was gifted or damned, depending on your take, with a voice almost imperceivable from Elvis's. And so his first recording was actually, I think, what was it? One of Elvis's early kind of things. What's the Bill Monroe one? Blue Moon of Kentucky. And when people listened to it, they actually thought it could be either an alternative mix or cut by Elvis. And so basically what happened was he was marketed as being a, who is he? Ooh, who is the masked man? And this is from 1980, so clearly this is after Elvis died, so they were also playing a sort of slightly macabre trick of suggesting that it's Elvis. And actually, I think by now it might, by this one, I think it might have been out. That clearly it wasn't. But there was certainly some playing around with who was he. And even when he did come out and say who his name was, apparently that was a lie as well. Anyway, so I had to pick this up. I watched a Netflix documentary. I'm sure you can find it about him, which is a sad kind of story, really, but really worth watching. And it's on, here we go, on Sun Records. I didn't know Sun Records was going in 1980. Gold disc. Or had it been bought out and actually it was being run by another company? I'm sure someone can tell me about that. So yeah, so Orion Country. It's not as, I haven't really talked about the record. It's country tunes. It's not as cheesy. Hello. It's not as cheesy as I thought it was going to be. It's actually, some of them are quite good. I mean, it's got Texas Tea, the Green Grass of Home, Crazy Arms, Help Me Make It Through the Night, Release Me, Please Help Me I'm Falling, yeah, all that sort of stuff. Not as bad as it could have been, not as good as it might have been. A couple more. Serious Sam Barrett. This is sort of acoustic blues. He's a guitar picker, so it's mostly him. It's a small label, private pressing, but I'll put a link to his Bandcamp page so you can have a listen to this. It's very nice. He's local to me. He's from Bradford, so although he's doing a very American folk blues, there are elements and kind of a feel of being very British as well. Not that he sings with a Yorkshire accent, because he's from Bradford, or Addingham. Yeah, it's nice. If you've heard any of Richard Thompson's sort of solo acoustic picking, it's kind of like that. Very nice stuff. Yeah, nothing worth showing there. So yeah, I paid a penny for that, plus postage. Someone sold that for a penny. It's really nice. I'll put the link down below. I'm running out of time. Hank Penney and his Radio Cowboys, Tobacco State Swing, early Western swing recordings, 1938 to 1941. Does what it says on this tin. It's probably not as famous as Bob Wills, but this is early Western swing. It's a really nice one. I picked this up at the record fair at Doncaster. It was sealed. I think I only paid about £3 or £4. So I'm pleased. It's from 1980, a repress. I remember the label being quite nice. A Rambler label. Yeah. Western swing. Love it. Okay, last one. Now, this is more of a warning than anything. Now, I'm a big fan of Steve Earle, and I picked up at the Doncaster fair 3 of his records. One I showed last week, Guitar Town, and this one I'm showing is another one I bought, and this is Early Tracks by Steve Earle, and this was Guitar Town was released in 86 on MCA. This was speedily put together and released by Epic in 87. Putting together a load of session tracks he'd recorded for them, and it's a bit weird because it's very rockabilly, and not particularly good rockabilly. They all sound very similar. It's a bit dirgy by the end of getting through it all. The only interest, really, I suppose, is it's got an early version of Devil's Right Hand on it, which is, it sits kind of weirdly at the end. So this is more of a warning, really. It's, if you see this and you are a Steve Earle completist, well, I suppose you've got to get it. If you're interested in checking out Steve Earle and what he sounds like, no. Avoid like the plague. You know, it's not a great album. He doesn't do rockabilly particularly well on this anyway. Yeah, so there you go. Avoid. And also, I don't like the way it's kind of slightly kind of... It says on the back, it says somebody photo tinting. I think it was originally a black and white photo, and it's got that horrible, slightly kind of weird... Ugh, makes you... You know when you watch those new films that have people who have been de-aged or something, and they look a bit weird, you can't quite put your finger on why, but they look odd. It's that type of thing. Anyway, So that's Steve Earle early tracks, only for completists. I don't know how long this is. I'm sorry, so I better stop. I'll be back with a few more. I've still got some records to show, as always. And I've got a couple of special ones with perhaps some CDs. You have been warned. So, until I'm back again, bye-bye for now.